YouTuber Mark Rober has a cool video where he makes a giant fluid sand bed out of a hot tub. In the beginning of that video, he also shows his small prototype sand bed, and we're going to be showing you step by step how you can build one of those for yourself. If you are the kind of person who likes watching cool builds and engineering on YouTube, then you probably know who Mark Rober is, and you've probably seen his video where he took a hot tub, filled it with sand, ran air through it, and made just a fluid sand bed that you could lie down inside. It was very cool, but he started out the video showing a smaller version that he built as a proof of concept. I reached out to Mark and he said it would be cool if I did a video showing you step by step how to build one of those smaller fluid sand beds for yourself. Here's the basic plan. We're gonna set up a series of tubes and corners that fit inside a box and pressurize with air. The piping will be full of very small holes that run air into the sand, turning it into a fluid. Here are the parts that we're going to need to build this. We have our 1/2 inch pipe. Right here we have about 15 feet of it. We won't use all of that, but it's a good amount to start with. We have 4 1/2 inch elbow pieces. We have 8 1/2 inch T pieces that are smooth in all 3 ports. And we have 1 1/2 inch T piece that's threaded in the center port and just a push fit on the sides. We've got a little bit of metal hardware as well. This is a bushing that goes from 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch on the inside, a connector that's 1/4 inch on both sides, a small 1/4 inch ball valve, and a 1/4 inch fitting that attaches to our air compressor. We also have this plastic tub that I bought at Home Depot for about $6. This size tub ends up working out really well, and the bottom inside measurements are about 18.5 by 12 inches. And that would be 47 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters. Now we need to cut several pieces out of our 1/2 inch pipe. First, we need 5 pieces that are 16.25 inches long. If you want to get really precise, that's about 41.25 centimeters. You don't have to use one of these pipe cutters for this, but it really is nice. With those 5 pieces cut, the next 2 pieces are 2 that are 7 inches long. It's just under 18 centimeters. Finally, we want 10 pieces that are 1 3/4 of an inch long, which is about 4.5 centimeters. While he was coming up with the design, Mark did a lot of trial and error, and he found that the way to get the best airflow through the pipes was that each of these long pieces, which will be going across our box, will have a series of small holes running along the bottom. There will be pairs of holes at 90-degree angles apart from each other and spaced out about every 2.5 centimeters all the way down the pipe. To get the lines of where I'm going to drill the holes, I've marked 2 spots on the end of the pipe that are about 90 degrees apart from each other, and I'm now going to line these up just on the table and trace a line down the whole pipe. We've got our lines drawn on our pipes, and now we need to mark out the spacing for where we'll drill all of the holes. Every 2.5 centimeters is the goal. We've got 80 marks on the pipes, and we need to drill each of them on both sides, so that is 160 holes that we need to drill into these pipes. For that, we are going to be using a drill press and a 1mm drill bit. It's a very small drill bit, and it helps prevent any of the sand getting up through the hole and ending up inside the piping. All right, we've got all 5 pipes drilled out. If we block one end and blow on the other side, we can feel all of those holes just pumping air out. Now we have those, and it's time to start connecting all of our pipes together. I'm gonna put together all of one side and then all of the other side, and then I'll go about gluing all of the pieces in between. Making stuff out of PVC. Guys, my album drops next month. It's gonna be so good. Now this side can be a little bit tricky because we kind of need to push all of them on at the same time, but I think we can make it work. So now we've got this lattice with hundreds of holes along the bottom that will be spraying our air out. There is another modification I do want to make. We're going to take that same drill bit and add a few more holes through all of the supporting structure so that all of the air gets blown all the way to the sides of the container and we don't just have it in the middle. Our air is going to enter into this through these 2 T pieces, and you can see that this mostly fits down in there, but it's just a little bit too wide, and that's intentional because we're going to drill 2 holes in the bottom and fit it in through those holes. This 1 1/8 inch spade bit we're using is just barely larger than the pipes we're trying to fit through the hole, so it should be pretty snug if it cuts a nice clean hole, we are cutting onto sort of a curved edge, so there's a very real possibility that it won't be perfectly smooth. All right, that fits. It's pretty snug, holds itself in place. There is some gap around that, and we'll fill and plug that up. But that's working. Takes a little bit of effort, squishing it down, forcing it into place, but once we get it down in there, it fits quite snug. You can see it's just right up against all of the edges of the tub, which is just what we want. A little bit of space down below, that'll help the air flow up through it better. Now let's take some silicone caulking, mix it with a little bit of water, and then just press that around these seals. It will basically be proto-putty, although we won't add the cornstarch, and it should just keep a nice tight seal around there. There's not gonna be pressure pushing out on these, so it doesn't have to be a high pressure seal. That's just to keep any of the sand from running out those holes while it's nice and fluid. With our box glued in place, it's now time to add the rest of the hardware. We're gonna use our other two small pieces to connect two more elbows. Those elbows will connect to our 7-inch pieces, and that will connect to our T with the threaded spot. Our T with the threaded spot will have the bushing, the connector, the 1/4-inch ball valve, and finally the piece that connects to the air compressor. Now we're gonna turn the compressor on, and while that's charging up, we're gonna load in the first type of sand. We've got 4 different types of sand that we're gonna try out to see which ones work well with this and see which ones don't. First up is play sand. This is just your normal playground stuff. It's not super consistent. There's a lot of size variation with it. All we have to do to add pressure is open the valve, and we actually have control. If we just open it a little bit, we only have a little bit of air getting through. If we open it a lot pours through. Weird how little it works in the middle though. So that's not putting out much at all right there. So the playground sand works a little bit. It's very, very dense while it's just sitting in there without any air flowing through it. You can't really pass your hand through it very easily unless you're just like digging down in. So playground sand, not so good. It's very uneven, and even the finest grains of the sand aren't that fine compared to some other types. So playground sand, I don't know, I'd give this like a C grade. Really not that great. Let's move on to the next kind. Next up we have this quartz mineral filler, and this is usually designed for just mixing into cement to make concrete. It's a fairly coarse grain, so I have my doubts that this stuff is going to work very well, but I haven't actually tried this kind. Here goes. All the way open and nothing. And now we'll fill it back up into the bag. So now we have what isn't actually sand. This is actually a glass bead material. It's used for sandblasting. Mark in his video used glass bead too. I don't know if we're using the exact same grain, but it is a very small, very fine, and fairly uniform grain, which is really what you want for one of these beds. Ooh, that was a lot of bubbling, and I barely had this open. Woo! That is crazy already. So even when it's closed, this stuff is fine grain enough that I can move it and kind of swirl it pretty easily, but it does stop my hands. Doesn't go anywhere. And opening it just a little bit, I can now just push my hand right down through that. Let's open it more. Really get it bubbling. Look at that, it's just got like waves back and forth. Beautiful. This is a cool way of illustrating a concept that when you're in a boat and you're in the ocean, if you ever see water that's bubbling, you're supposed to avoid it. A boat floats on the water because the boat plus the air in it has a lower average density than the water underneath it. However, water with air bubbling up through it has a lower average density than regular water, and you can hit a critical point where your boat, even with nothing wrong with it, can just sink right down into the water-air mixture. If you think of this sand as water and the air as air, you can get something similar happening. These pieces of plastic, they float on top of the sand. However, once there's air floating through, the density of the sand goes down, and these pieces of plastic, they don't survive very well. And your ship is sunk.
Random fact, it's been estimated that there are approximately 7,500,000,000 quadrillion grains of sand on all of the beaches in the world. That's a 75 with 17 zeros after it.
All right, let's see if our colored sand works. Yeah! I just gotta turn it off again. That's already starting to mix so much. All right, I'm gonna turn it on, it's gonna get fluid, and I'm just gonna put my hand through it, and it's just gonna get mixed up fast. The fluid sand bed is not that hard to build. It doesn't take that long and it doesn't cost that much. I think by far your biggest expense is going to be if you want to get the really good sand. That's the super fine glass beads that are used for sandblasting. That bag did cost me $35 but it works by far the best. But thank you again to Mark Rober for his design and saying it's cool if we make a video showing how to build the small one. If you guys have not seen his video where he turns a hot tub into one of these things, you gotta check it out. He's like floating in it and there's like 6 people in it at once. It is super cool. I also thought it was super funny watching the up-close slow-mo of the sand erupting into being a fluid. It really looks kind of like a landscape that you're seeing from a drone shot above, but we just took a camera and like put it down in the sand practically. It looks really fun. It just starts moving a little bit. The sand is really light reflective, so you see like little points of light starting to appear, and then the whole landscape just starts just like that. I hope to see some of you build this. If you do, tag us on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you like to post the photos and we'll check it out. Guys, the fun does not end here. There's more for you to see. That box at the top will take you directly to our last video and you should check that one out. The other box shows you what YouTube thinks you should be watching next. And if you aren't a subscriber yet to our channel, hit this bomb to get in the club so you never miss out on the fun. Don't forget to ring that bell and we'll see you in the next one. Talk to you then.